Part 1 extended about 1,000 words. Fast-paced, simple English, clean for YouTube only the story. No extra comments from the outside. Emily and Daniel Turner looked like the perfect couple. They lived in a quiet Seattle neighborhood. It's the kind where everyone waved while watering their lawns and children rode bikes down peaceful streets. Their house was small but warm, with yellow curtains, soft lights, and a front porch swing that Daniel built himself. To neighbors, the Turners were happy. To friends, they were steady. To family, they were strong. But inside the home, something had changed. It was not loud or dramatic. It was quiet, almost invisible. But Emily felt it every day. She noticed the missing laughter, the long silences at dinner. The way Daniel stared at his phone, then quickly locked it when she walked in. He wasn't angry or rude. He was distant, like his mind was living somewhere far away. Emily tried to remind herself that marriage had seasons. Sometimes warm, sometimes cold, and sometimes just confusing. But the fear inside her grew anyway. 8 years of love had taught her the shape of Daniel's happiness, and lately that shape was gone. They still said good morning and good night, but the words were thinner, softer, less alive. One rainy afternoon, the clouds outside covered everything in gray. Emily finished her chores early and decided to clean Daniel's office, something she rarely did. The room smelled like old books and coffee. Papers were stacked in piles. Pens rolled across the desk. It was the mess of a man who worked hard, but also of a man who was thinking too much. While wiping dust from the drawers, Emily pulled one open and noticed a small paper envelope tucked in the corner. She hesitated. Daniel was a private person, and she respected that. But curiosity and worry pushed her forward. Her hands shook as she picked it up. Inside were a few pictures, faded and soft around the edges. And then she saw her, a woman she did not recognize. Long brown hair, warm smile, standing next to Daniel in a park. They looked young, maybe years before Emily's time. The woman wasn't posing romantically, but there was a closeness in the picture that did not belong to strangers. Emily stared at the photograph for so long she forgot to breathe. There were no angry thoughts, no wild jealousy. What she felt was something quieter, a painful sadness that settled deep in her chest. She didn't slam drawers, didn't cry, didn't run. She just stared at the picture and asked herself one question. Is this why he is slipping away? That night, she kept the picture hidden in her sweater pocket. Dinner was soft and quiet. Daniel complimented her cooking, smiled politely, then returned to his phone. His eyes had that faraway look again, the one that made Emily feel invisible. Finally, she spoke. "Daniel," she said gently, "are you happy?" He looked up, surprised, like he hadn't expected her voice. "Of course I am." But she saw the hesitation. She felt this space between them, a space that had grown slowly like a shadow in the room. "You seem somewhere else," she continued. "If something is wrong, I want to know." Daniel put down his fork and leaned back. For a long moment, he said nothing. Emily watched his throat tighten, his hands fidget, his eyes lower toward the table. When he finally spoke, his voice was tired. "I'm not unhappy. I love you. I just sometimes think about the past, about things I never finished, people I never said goodbye to. Maybe it's foolish, but it stays in my head." Emily's heart dropped. She understood too clearly. "Who?" she asked. Not angry, just needing truth. He looked at her with eyes full of guilt and softness. Her name was Claire. It was a long time ago. Emily already knew. The answer only confirmed what her heart feared. Daniel went on, slowly, carefully. "We were close, young. She left suddenly. We never had a real ending. I guess some memories never shut off. But I don't want you to think I regret my life. I don't. I chose you. I love you." Emily nodded, but inside, her world shook. It wasn't betrayal she feared, it was being second in her husband's mind. That night, after Daniel fell asleep, Emily lay awake beside him. The house was dark except for the soft street light shining through the curtains. She looked at his face, peaceful in sleep, and wondered what kind of pain or confusion lived behind his silence. She wasn't angry with him. She was afraid for them. Marriage was supposed to be a place where two people grew together, not apart. But lately, she felt like she was watching him disappear day by day. She could not fight a memory. She could not argue with the past. But she could feel a tan invisible barrier between them. She reached into her nightstand and pulled out the photograph. The woman in it didn't look dangerous or threatening. She looked normal, kind, human. Maybe that's what hurt most. It reminded Emily that love was complicated. And the heart did not always follow logic. She asked herself a question no wife ever wants to ask. What if Daniel never truly let go of her? Emily knew some people would ignore it, pretend everything was fine, and hope the past faded on its own. But Emily wasn't built like that. She believed love needed honesty, even when honesty was painful. She believed in facing storms, not hiding from them, so she made a decision. One that even surprised herself. If Daniel needed closure, she would bring it to him. If he was stuck in the past, she would help him walk through it. If a goodbye was missing, she would help him say it, not because she was weak, not because she didn't value herself, but because love sometimes means doing the hard thing instead of the easy one. The next morning, she found Claire online. It was easier than she imagined. A simple name typed into a search bar, and there she was, older, different, living somewhere else, smiling in new photographs. Emily stared at Claire's face and wondered if she was making a mistake or saving her marriage. With shaking fingers, she wrote a message. It was short, calm, respectful. Hello, my name is Emily Turner. I am Daniel's wife. I hope this doesn't come as a shock. He has been struggling with some memories, and I believe he needs to speak to you, not for the past, but for closure. If you are willing, I would appreciate a conversation. She hovered over the send button. Her hands trembled. Her heart raced. But she pressed it anyway. Then she waited. Minutes felt like hours. She refreshed the page over and over, nerves twisting inside her. Just when she began to regret everything, a notification appeared. Claire replied, and that single message was the moment everything started to change. Part 2 extended about 1,000 words. Fast-paced, simple English, clean, emotional. Only story, Claire replied with a short message. It was polite, gentle, and careful. She explained that she lived 2 hours away, had a quiet life, and never expected to hear from Daniel again. She asked if Emily was sure about this. Emily typed back with steady fingers, even though her heart was shaking. Yes, she was sure. They set a date. Claire would come on Saturday afternoon when Saturday came. The sky was bright but cold, and Emily felt both strong and afraid. She cleaned the living room 3 times, rearranged the pillows, and checked the clock every 10 minutes. Daniel didn't know Claire was coming. She had decided not to tell him until the moment arrived. She wanted honesty, not fear or avoidance. At noon, Daniel walked into the kitchen holding a cup of coffee. He looked tired but peaceful. Emily watched him quietly, thinking about the man she married, the man she still loved, the man she was trying to save from his own memories. She breathed in and spoke. Daniel, I invited someone today. He turned slowly, confused. Who? There was a knock at the door. Emily didn't have to answer. His eyes widened as if his heart had recognized something before his mind did. She walked to the door, opened it, and there stood Claire. Time froze. Claire was older than in the photo, but she carried the same warm, calm presence. She gave a small smile, nervous but sincere. Daniel's coffee cup shook in his hand. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stared at Claire as if a ghost from his past had suddenly become real. Emily stepped aside. Come in. Claire walked inside slowly, taking in the house, the pictures, the life Daniel had built. She didn't look jealous or bitter or dramatic. She only looked thoughtful, like she also carried a story she never finished. Daniel finally found his voice. I never expected to see you again, Claire replied softly. I never expected to be here. The 3 of them sat in the living room. The clock on the wall was the only sound at first. Emily felt her heart beat hard, but she stayed calm. She had invited her here for honesty, and she would see it through. Daniel leaned forward, his hands locked together. "Why are you here?" Claire looked at Emily first, then at Daniel. "Because your wife asked me, and because I owe you a conversation I never gave." For the first time in months, Daniel's expression changed. The distance in his eyes softened. Something old inside him came loose. He nodded slowly. "I think I needed that more than I realized." The conversation began gently. They talked about the past, not the romantic parts, not the dramatic parts, just the truth. They talked about why Claire left. She explained that she wasn't ready for anyone back then. She carried fears, family problems, and a heart that didn't know how to love properly. So she left without goodbye, hoping Daniel would forget her instead of hurting. Emily listened closely. She saw how Daniel's face changed with every word: pain, surprise, understanding, and something like peace. For so long, that chapter of his life ended in silence. Now it had a voice. They talked about the years that passed. Claire asked about his life, his work, his home. She smiled when she saw the wedding photo of Daniel and Emily on the wall. She said, "She suits you. You look steady with her." Emily hadn't expected kindness, but Claire gave it freely. At some point, the conversation turned. Daniel asked the question that had lived in his heart for years. "Did you ever love me?" Claire nodded slowly. "I did. But love wasn't enough to fix what was broken in me. I didn't leave because of you. I left because I wasn't ready to stay." Daniel let out a breath that sounded like he had been holding it for years. He didn't cry. He didn't look angry. He just looked released. Emily watched it happen, the weight lifting off his shoulders, the confusion clearing from his eyes. She realized that everything she feared had been true. His mind had lived in this unfinished memory. And now, finally, the door was closing. Claire turned to Emily. "You are brave. Most people would hate me, but you invited me here for him. That's real love." Emily's voice was soft. "I don't want to lose him to the past." Claire shook her head gently. "You won't. The past belongs to me, but his future belongs to you." For the first time that day, Emily's chest loosened. But the moment wasn't over. Claire hesitated, as if struggling with her own secret. Then she spoke. "I need to tell you both something. I should have said it years ago." Daniel and Emily leaned forward, unsure what was coming. Claire looked at Daniel with steady eyes. "Part of why I left was because I knew you were meant for a different life. You wanted stability, marriage, a family, a home. I wasn't built for that life back then. I would have broken you. And I didn't want to be the reason you stopped believing in love." The room went quiet. Emily felt something strange: gratitude. Claire didn't come to take anything back. She came to return something. "Closure." Daniel whispered. "I always wondered if you hated me." Claire shook her head. "I never hated you. I cared too much. That's why I left." The conversation lasted hours, but it never turned ugly. No raised voices, no blame, no romantic tension. It was calm, adult, and human. Three people sitting with old truth and new honesty. When the afternoon sun began to fade, Claire stood up. She looked at Emily, then at Daniel. "Thank you for letting me come. I didn't know how much I needed this too." Daniel stood, unsure what to do. Hug, handshake, silence. He chose something simple. He placed his hand gently over Claire's and said, "Goodbye." Not angry, not emotional, just real. Claire smiled. "Goodbye, Daniel." She walked to the door. Before leaving, she told Emily, "Take care of him." "He's a good man," Emily answered. "I will." The door closed and Claire's footsteps disappeared down the driveway. Inside the house, Daniel and Emily stood in silence. No tension, no distance, just quiet air between them. Then Daniel turned to her, eyes softer than they had been in months. "Thank you. I don't know how to explain it, but something feels lighter." Emily stepped closer. "I wanted you to come back to me, not just in body, but in heart." Daniel pulled her into a gentle hug. No drama, no fireworks. Just warmth. A real connection. The kind they hadn't felt in a long time. And as they stood there, holding each other in the fading light, Emily realized something important. She didn't invite Claire to test him. She invited Claire to heal him. And maybe, just maybe, heal herself too. The past had finally let go, and now they had room for tomorrow. Part 3 extended about 1,000 words. Fast-paced, simple English, clean, emotional. Only story after Claire left. The house felt different, quiet, but not heavy. The silence was peaceful, not painful. Emily and Daniel stood in the living room for a long moment, neither speaking, both trying to understand what had just happened. The past, which had hung over them like a dark cloud, was finally gone. Daniel sat down on the couch, almost in disbelief. He rubbed his hands over his face like someone waking up from a strange dream. "I didn't know how much I needed that," he said softly. Emily nodded. "I know." He turned toward her, eyes filled with honesty she hadn't seen in months. "I'm sorry I pulled away from you. I never meant to hurt you. I just got stuck in my thoughts and I didn't know how to let go." Emily sat beside him. "I never wanted you to pretend. I just wanted you to come back to us." Daniel reached for her hand. It was warm, steady, familiar. "I'm here now," he said. For the first time in a long time, Emily believed him. In the days that followed, life slowly found a better rhythm. Daniel laughed more with her, made small jokes, and paid attention in ways he had forgotten. They cooked dinner together, played music in the kitchen, took walks in the evening breeze. Nothing dramatic, just simple things they had been missing. The change wasn't instant magic. It was small steps, real effort, and quiet moments of choosing each other again. One night, while they sat on the porch swing Daniel built years ago, he spoke again about Claire, but this time, it wasn't heavy. "I always wondered what happened to her," he said. "I always wondered if I wasn't enough." Emily listened quietly. Daniel continued, but hearing her say she wasn't ready, it made something in my heart finally stop asking questions. Emily placed her head on his shoulder. "Sometimes we don't need perfect answers, just honest ones." He smiled, placing a soft kiss on her forehead. "I don't want to look backward anymore." Emily didn't reply with words. She just held his hand tighter. Weeks passed and winter came. The holidays filled their house with warmth, lights on the porch, family dinners, movie nights under blankets. Daniel seemed lighter, freer, like someone who had been carrying weight for too long and finally set it down. One evening, Daniel came home with a small wrapped box. Emily arched her eyebrows, surprised. "What's this?" "Just something I've been thinking about." She opened it slowly. Inside was a silver bracelet with a tiny engraved word. "Here." Daniel's voice was soft. "Because I want to show you that my heart is not somewhere else. Not yesterday, not in the past, here. With you." Emily's eyes filled, but they were gentle tears, not painful ones. She leaned against him. "I never asked you to forget your past. I just wanted to be part of your present." Daniel held her close, and for the first time in a long time, Emily felt something she had almost forgotten: complete peace. Months later, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived in the mail. There was no return address, but Emily recognized the handwriting. She opened it quietly, sitting by the window where sunlight warmed the floor. In the letter, Claire wrote, "Thank you for letting me visit. I didn't know how deeply I needed that goodbye. I thought leaving was the kindest thing, but I see now that silence can leave wounds. I'm glad Daniel has someone like you, someone strong, patient, and brave. I don't expect to be part of your lives again. I just wanted you to know that I'm finally at peace too." The letter ended with simple words: "Take care of each other." Emily folded it gently and placed it in a drawer. Not hidden, not secret, just part of their story, one that no longer hurt. That night, she told Daniel about the letter. He quietly nodded and thanked her. They didn't talk about Claire anymore after that, not because it was forbidden, but because it didn't need to be discussed. The chapter had closed. Instead, they talked about the future places they wanted to travel. interests, changes they wanted to make, dreams they had put on hold. Daniel had always talked about starting a small woodworking shop, turning his hobby into something more. Emily encouraged him, and soon he began building furniture in the garage. His smile returned, the deep, real one she loved. One Saturday, Daniel took Emily to a quiet park outside the city. The air smelled like pine and cold wind. They sat on a bench and watched families play. Daniel took a deep breath. "Emily, I want to tell you something I should have said a long time ago." She turned toward him, curious. "When you invited Claire, I was shocked. I thought you would be angry, jealous, hurt. But you chose courage. You chose honesty. You chose to fight for us. I know many people would have walked away. You stayed." Emily felt her throat tighten. "I stayed because I love you. Not just the easy parts. All of it." Daniel smiled, took her hands, and said the words she needed most. "I choose you. Not because it's safe or familiar, but because you are the person I want to grow old with." The wind blew softly through the trees. Emily leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then promise me something. Anything. When life gets hard, when past memories show up again, when we feel distant, talk to me. Let me carry it with you. Don't shut me out." Daniel nodded. "I promise." Their hands rested together, fingers intertwined, as if they were stitching their hearts back into one piece. In the months that followed, their marriage changed not into something perfect, but into something real. They communicated more. They cared differently. They appreciated small things. Morning coffee, shared routines, gentle touches. Love didn't feel fragile anymore. It felt steady. And Emily realized something important. Inviting Claire wasn't about fear of losing Daniel. It was about giving him the chance to close a door he couldn't close alone. Some wounds don't heal until truth is spoken. One evening, while they stood in their kitchen cooking dinner, Daniel hugged her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "You brought me home," he whispered. She smiled, placing her hand over his. "And you stayed." Life didn't become perfect, but it became theirs again. Because real love isn't about never breaking. It's about choosing to rebuild. It's about choosing each other, even when the past knocks on the door. Emily invited Claire into their lives for a moment. But that moment gave them years back. And in the end, love didn't lose. Love grew.